Hey everyone, I am reading Baba Ali and the Clockwork Djinn by Danielle, Ackley-McPhail, and Al-Mohamed, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Come, best beloved, and sit by my feet. I shall tell you a tale such as Sister Shazraz could have scarce imagined, a tale of wonders, of deeds both great and grievous, of courage that defies description, and above all, child of Adam. I shall tell you a tale of love. The night is for the telling of tales, of which the morning may bear truth. In the oldest of days and ages and times there was, and there was not, a great evil that reached across the desert and beyond. Chapter 1. Ali bin Mossad made his way down Dorset Street at a brisk pace, hunching his shoulders against the damp chill that clung thick upon his person. Though he was but 18 years of age, on days like this his bones ached as if he carried 3 times the number of years. His woolen white thobe and the darker bisht robe he wore over it protected him from the worst of the weather, as did the sheaf wrapped about his head, but they also marked him as an outsider. Many days his choice to wear traditional garb made things more difficult for him than the weather itself. In the 3 years since he had come to England, Ali could have chosen to adopt this foreign land's manner of dress, but he was not willing to forego any remaining shred of the culture he still cleaved to in this wet and foggy place. His body longed for the dry heat of the desert. His soul ached for home and his family, especially his father. Ali missed his wisdom and patience, and on days like today, even a small word or look of encouragement would have lifted his spirits as a ray of sunshine cutting through the unfriendly English skies. Ali shivered as the late spring drizzle pelted his skin. He held the package of instruments he had fetched from the blacksmith for his teacher tight against his chest. Around him loomed the buildings that edged the street, their brick facades staring at him. Ali felt crowded and smothered. It was so different from the open desert that surrounded his home in Wadi al-Nahed. Lengthening his stride and keeping his head down, he hurried toward his temporary home, eager for the shelter it offered. His professor would no doubt have a warm fire and hot tea waiting. Ali tensed as the swift two-step clop of hard-soled shoes approached behind him. My word, 2 in one day. It is veritable infestation, the stranger muttered. Out of my way, Gollywog. The man shoved past him. Ali's feet slipped off the edge of the wooden walk. He fell toward the cobbles and into the street. Pain shot up his leg as his knee struck the hard stone. Angry yells and the clamor of hooves and wheels shattered the quiet calm of Dorset Street. Mud splattered his vest and covered his one hand where he had tried to catch himself. With his free hand, Ali clutched his package more tightly and whispered a prayer to the Almighty. He scrambled to the safety of the walkway, his body trembling as the carriage raced by without even slowing, the driver yelling maledictions as he passed. Ali's cheeks burned at the stares of those few people on the street. With quiet dignity, he shoved down his anger and continued on his way. Pride forced him to take slow, normal steps, though bolts of pain from his knee coursed through him with each stride. Ali could do nothing else. Any response or complaint would be twisted and misconstrued. He had seen this too often. He had even experienced it once or twice, especially when he had first arrived. Throwing angry words and even fists accomplished nothing. 3 years had passed, and now Ali refused to let his horror, nor that of his teacher and his family, be sullied, though the injustice burned him like the noonday sands. He understood that his father had sent him to this cold place out of a desire for a better life for his second son than he would find in his brother Qasim's shadow. But the well-meaning exile apprenticeship, Ali corrected himself, weighed heavily on his soul. His feet longed for the shift of desert sands beneath them. His skin ached for the hot rays of a brilliant sun. His heart cried out for people who would accept him as he was and not give him baleful looks for the skin that was more brown than pale. But more than anything else, he longed for his family. Neither he nor his father had realized how ill received he would be by the English artificers and engineers. unable even to enroll at university despite a sharp mind, innate talent with mechanical things, and his father's deep pockets. If not for the famed artificer Charles Babbage accepting him personally as an apprentice, an offer made out of gratitude for a past kindness, and perhaps a more recent exchange of coin, Ollie would have found his time in England unbearable. The Almighty be praised, his situation was not so. Ollie murmured the quick benediction, a gratitude to protect against evil. The hours spent studying with Babbage filled Ollie's mind with wonder and his heart with joy. Like all artificers, the man's mind was a puzzle of machines and engineering and designs that, when they were safely in the workshop, made Ollie desire only to sit at his teacher's workbench and create with him. Such knowledge more than made his venture to this land of the English worthwhile. Today, they were to experiment with a new variation on a difference engine. Ollie's heartbeat sped up, and a faint smile appeared at his lips. The machine was complex, its problems daunting, and Ollie loved every minute. His steps sped up at the thought. Finally, he reached the wrought iron fence surrounding 1 Dorset Street. As Ollie passed through the gate, his shoulders relaxed, his head rose, and his chest loosened enough for him to draw a more comfortable breath. Before he could knock, Babbage himself opened the door, his forehead creased and his brow heavy as he scolded. His gaze took in the limp and the torn and dirtied state of Ollie's clothing. Babbage's lips pressed tight. Again, he glared down the street, first one way and then the other. "I am fine, Ustad, honored teacher. The Almighty's blessing upon your household," Ollie said in English. His words were clear and unaccented. He and his brother Kasim had learned the language, as well as many others at a young age, through their merchant father's tutoring. Ollie handed his teacher the package he carried, along with a letter he'd collected from the postmaster. Babbage's scowl deepened as he read the sender's name. "The Honorable Lady Chadsworth," he humphed, as he slipped the envelope into his coat and turned to stride down the hall. "Well, come on in, then," Babbage said over his shoulder. Ollie followed, slowly careful of his aching leg. No doubt he would awaken with significant bruises in the morning. Despite this, his fingers clenched as if already a spanner weighed upon his palm, all memories of his encounter temporarily forgotten. Babbage waved toward the stairs. "Why don't you take a minute to wash up?" Ollie glanced down at himself, his cheeks flaming in shame at his disarray. He bowed quickly before hurrying to the scullery that held the house's single pump for fresh water. Collecting a pitcher, Ollie carefully filled it and made his way upstairs to the attic chamber, granted him as part of his apprenticeship, along with meals. Once in his room, Ollie removed his clothing and made his ablutions. He winced as he gently dabbed at his throbbing knee with a damp washcloth. It was swollen, the skin scraped and oozing blood. Each step up the stairs had been painful, but the injury was not serious. Ollie changed to a clean robe. Eagerness to return downstairs to begin his lesson spurred his pace. Babbage waited impatiently beside the door at the back of the house, his tall, lanky form tense. Without a word, they stepped out under the covered walkway that led to the workshop, a 2-story affair that seemed a palace in itself compared to how most people in Ollie's home city of Wadi al-Nahed lived. As they entered the workshop, Ollie moved to the cold box in the corner where they kept items for quick meals. He took out a small pitcher and poured milk into the bowl he'd reserved for the household's brownies. He had learned of the English magical fairies in a book he'd found in the library. It had comforted him to discover that this soot-gray city, in some small way, echoed the magic of his far-off homeland. Being conversant with tales of the fickle and at times malevolent ways of magical creatures, even foreign ones, Ollie made certain to ensure these were kept happy. As he placed the saucer just outside the workshop door, Ollie sensed Babbage's disapproval. He grinned up at his teacher, knowing the complaint. After 3 years of this ritual, it no longer needed to be voiced. Science versus poppycock, and ignorant, savage superstition. Yet his teacher never stayed Ollie's hand. His tolerance was good-natured, though his manner remained gruff. Ollie had to admit he had yet to see a being that resembled the images from the book, but set out his saucer all the same. Faith required belief, not proof. His task complete, Ali rolled up his sleeves in preparation for work. His gaze went to the roof. Constructed from sheets of clear glass, the rain tapped against them in a steady patter. Soft light bathed the chamber, but the hour grew late. They would need lanterns to see their work. Ali sighed, not overly fond of the paraffin lanterns. He missed the fragrant lamp oils of his homeland. English paraffin stank and smoked. Straightening his shoulders and shrugging off his distaste, he circled the room using lucifer matches to light the many lanterns until the workspace fairly glowed. Once he completed the task, he joined his teacher at the workbench where Babbage had already opened the package of custom-made tools Ali had been sent to collect. They were truly things of beauty, not just tools for efficiency. Wood handles with cold steel working parts, a mainspring tightener, a brand new indicator, a set of coilets, indexable turrets, and an oddly shaped ratchet. Ali recognized Babbage's own designs among the more standard implements. While many were familiar, several were not. No doubt he would learn the purpose of the others as they proceeded. They worked for hours, constructing first paper, then wooden templates from Babbage's notes, and assembling them, working out the calculations precisely. That was where Ali excelled, in the implementation of Babbage's designs, taking something from the theoretical and making it real. Ali felt a small bubble of pride as they tested elements of the machine. He longed to take up the new tools and construct the whole of this different engine, but that was forbidden him for now, though an entire clean room remained sealed at the back of the workshop, eternally waiting for the master's grand invention. Even dust was not allowed entry. In his secret thoughts, Ali feared his teacher would never venture forward, would never take the steps to realize his dream. His spirit broken by an earlier failure many years before, the specifics which were never discussed. Ali sought to become a master artificer, and there was yet much for him to learn of the theory, mathematics, and engineering through the smaller efforts completed under his teacher's tutelage. This is what Ali's father wanted for him. The skill of the artificer, the knowledge of the scholar, the vision of the inventor, and tools with which he could build a future outside of the family business. A business that would be his brother's inheritance. As the younger son, it was necessary that Ali seek his own destiny. On his own, Ali would have become little more than a machinist or tinkerer. Blessed with this opportunity to work with Ustad Babbage, Ali had the chance to achieve the dream his father held for him, which in his heart of hearts, Ali also wished for himself. Content, he settled into his work, pausing only for his evening prayers. Other than Babbage's instructions, neither of them spoke. Just as well, Ali found it hard to breathe, let alone talk. The fumes from the lamps in their work made their air heavy. The third time Ali strangled a cough, Babbage ordered him to open the damnable window. The air outside was scarcely any better, but at least the evening breeze and the damp from the recent rain freshened the stifling room. After several hours, they stopped for a bit of bread and tea, Ali preparing the blend his father regularly sent him from his far desert country. Happily, Ali's teacher was quite taken with the full-bodied flavor of Indian first leaf, and so the evening break was a time of comfort and peace in their day. To make it doubly pleasurable during that time, Ali usually asked questions about mathematics and philosophy. Babbage spoke broadly about the theoretical underpinnings that every artificer needed to know. Time flew quickly, and soon they returned to the workbench, ready to toil well into the night. Before they could take up their tools, something clattered on the windowsill. As one, Ali and Babbage turned to behold a fantastic sight. Perched upon the sill was a falcon. Not one of the small English kestrels. This creature rivaled the majestic raptors of Ali's desert home. Head tilting for a better view, Ali stepped forward. The movement took him out of the path of the light, allowing the warm glow of the lamps to fall full upon the form in the open window. Gem-bright eyes flashed at him from a sculpted avian face. Drawing a sharp breath, Ali stopped still. "How extraordinary," Babbage murmured softly. Silently, Ali agreed. Other than its form, this bird had no foundation in nature. Both feathers and flesh were purely mechanical. finely wrought from the most delicate of clockwork and hammered metal. Ollie noticed a series of gears beneath the wings. They moved both seamlessly and silently. Feathers of fitted bronze, copper, and tin in their natural colors, undimmed, fluttered flat against its back with faint clicks. Ollie longed to examine the inner workings. Thank you.